Let's talk about mistakes on your I-130 or 485. Hi, I'm Jim Hacking, immigration lawyer practicing law throughout the United States, out of our offices in St. Louis, San Diego, and Washington, D.C. You know, for the first 15 years, I practiced immigration law. Every single marriage-based green card case, employment-based green card case, asylum-based green card case required an interview at USCIS. Before that agency was going to approve you for lawful permanent resident status, you had to have an interview and you had to satisfy them that you were eligible. Well, in order to try to clear the massive backlog that was created during the Trump administration, the Biden team has waived interviews in a vast majority of green card cases. And that's a good thing. Overall, that really, really helps. But there's a side problem that has been caused by that, and that is sometimes people make a mistake on their application and their case is headed towards an approval. And sometimes getting an approved case without that mistake being taken care of can really cause you problems. So remember, we're always going to fast forward to citizenship because that's really the gold standard. That's what we're after. It's nice to be a lawful permanent resident. It's nice to have that case approved without an interview. But at the end of the day, there's going to become a time where you're going to be scrutinized again. They're going to go over your case to try to figure out whether or not you are eligible for citizenship. And if they find something that you did not correct or that you marked incorrectly on your application, they could really hold that against you. In fact, they could not only at that point deny you for citizenship, they could come back and try to take away your green card. So let's walk through a hypothetical. Let's say Mary and John get married and Mary sponsors John, her husband, for a marriage-based green card. And let's say they make a fundamental mistake. Let's say that John does not disclose that he was married before back in the home country and that his divorce was obtained back there in the home country, and he doesn't list that on the application. The case goes through and USCIS approves it. Fast forward 3 years, John applies for citizenship, and this time he remembers to list this prior marriage. And so then there's an inconsistency between the I-130-45 submission and the N-400 submission. So what do you do when you realize that you made a mistake, but your case hasn't yet been approved? Well, that's the best thing going. If you realize you made a mistake and your case has not been decided, you're in a much better position than if your case has been approved. And the reason for that is you now have the chance to document you're informing USCIS of the correction. So you sort of need to make a big deal out about this. If you have a pretty big problem, and I would say a little typo isn't a big problem, but fundamental issues about whether or not you are eligible for the benefit sought, like you forgot to list that you were in the Communist Party, or you forgot to list membership in other groups, or you forgot to list a trip that was more than 6 months or longer, or anything like that, any time where you were out of status, if you forgot to list that stuff and you realize it and your case hasn't been approved yet, you need to notify USCIS. You need to send them in an errata sheet, and I have a YouTube video on how to create an errata sheet, but basically you want to reprint the question, write the correct answer, and then provide an explanation and send it to every USCIS address you can. The address you originally sent your packet, your field office, and wherever you think the case is being currently held. So you need to get documentation that you've notified them that, because then if we go to citizenship down the road and you say, hey, look, you're right, I didn't list the fact that I was a member of the Communist Party when I submitted my application on May 1st, but when I realized it on September 10th, I sent USCIS a certified letter or by Federal Express, so I have proof of delivery that I notified them that I had been in the Communist Party. So the fact that you guys approved it without an interview after I notified you, that's on you, not on them. You're trying to push the burden of the problem back onto the agency and away from you, right? So that's a really, really important concept. So as we have more and more months of people not getting interviews, this becomes more and more of an issue. So you probably want to scrutinize your application to see if there are any mistakes. And if there are mistakes, you need to notify USCIS right away. You need to make sure that you notify them in a way that you have proof of delivery. And then you need to keep that for the future when you apply for additional immigration benefits. Hope that makes sense, but that's the deal if you find a mistake on your application. If you have questions about this, or if you're thinking about hiring our firm to represent you, to help you with that mistake, or to take over the case, or to file it from scratch, give us a call, 314-961-8200, or email us info@hackingimmigrationlaw.com. Did you know we have a free Facebook group? It's called Immigrant Home. There's over 12,000 immigrants in that group talking about the immigration process. You can ask people about processing times at your embassy or your service center or your field office. People talk about the immigration process in there. Sometimes I pop in and answer questions. We also have our YouTube channel. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel so that way whenever I make a new video, you'll get alerted if you click the bell button. You'll also be alerted when we go live. So I do a free immigration answers show 3 or 4 times a week. That's me answering people's immigration questions about the process. We would love to be able to help you that way. And if you want to get in the waiting room to ask me a question, just text the word show to 314-470-3300. And finally, if you're not following us on TikTok, you might want to @immigration hacking. Thanks so much, and we'll see you on the next video.